Hey guys, welcome back to Vibe with Steph, the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. It is March, where it's Women's History Month. So shout out to all the women of the world, beautiful women of the world. Today is actually International Women's Month. So buy a woman something, send her some money, buy her some clothes, buy her some food, cook, clean, do something amazing. We all came from a woman, if she's here or not, if you talk to her or you don't, we still came from women, and I'm proud to be a strong ass woman, period. And I birthed a wonderful young lady as well, and shout out to my mama for putting up with me. She's amazing too. Also, I just want to, if you haven't listened to last week's episode about psychedelics, I would suggest that you tune in. It was amazing. Thank you so much for all the reviews, all the listeners. Shout out to Bobby and Aunt Lee for that amazing episode. We're definitely going to have them back soon, one of these days, because people still have so many questions, and so do I. And no, I have not tried any psychedelics yet, and I'll tune in. I'll let y'all know if I do. But today, because like I said, it is Women's History Month, I have an amazing woman who actually, funny story is, we've never met in person until today. We've only been like social media friends. Isn't that fun? Your social media friends are like your besties in real life. So today I have a professional health therapist, and her name is Paula Moreno Fuentes. Paula, say hi to the people.
Hello, my beautiful people. How is everyone out there?
In podcast land.
Right?
It's not even radio land anymore.
Not everything is podcast.
Yeah, everything is podcast.
Listen to the radio for songs.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So, Paula, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you from? What do you specialize in? What do you like to do? About your family? I don't know.
Oh my goodness, there's so much about me. So I am a clinical mental health specialist. Working on a PhD, doing all of the fun things for my Jersey City people. I am a mom. I live here in Jersey City, born and raised. Went to school here, did everything here. Currently, I work for United Healthcare, so I do that my 9 to 5. So I specialize in all things clinical mental health, from diagnosing to treatment plans to even some of the drugs that we use to combat some of the mental health disorders that we have. I also work along the lines of alcohol, drug use, addiction. Also, I am an ally for the LGBTQIA community.
Yes, we love y'all. Hello, everybody.
Ally. Yes, fierce ally, advocate. I work with one organization in particular, and we have a lot coming down the pike for this year as we kind of dive into the different stuff that we're looking at in terms of mental health, harm risk reduction, properly diagnosing transgender community. That's another thing. I work with the transgender community in terms of therapy and diagnosing in order to kind of help them live their better lives, whether it's surgeries, whether it's hormone therapy. So that's kind of like me in a nutshell.
That's awesome. What give us a fun fact. What's a fun fact about like those icebreakers? Give us a fun fact. I love fun
fact.
Fun fact. Yeah, everybody knows me. I'm always like a fun fact, guys.
Fun facts. I actually, outside of being a mom and being all the other hats I wear, I'm actually very creative. I have a very small paper company, Paper Crafts. I make banners. Yeah.
What do you mean?
T-shirts.
Hold on. What?
Yes.
I just when you think you know somebody. What do you?
I do. So actually, believe it or not, I was doing scrapbooks ever since my kids were born. I love scrapbooking. I love the storytelling, like the narrative.
That sounds very Cancerian.
It's beautiful. It's very stressless when it wants.
You Cancers do those things.
We are very, like, you meet most Cancers and we're very creative. Yeah. Like, even if it's not like with arts and crafts, it's like creative, like with home decor. Yeah. I can't tell you how many Cancers I walk into their house and I'm like,
Yeah, it's the water sign thing. The Pisces.
I think so.
Happy Pisces season, y'all. We got one of those. It's Pisces, Cancers, and Scorpios. We're so creative.
We are.
We're your faves, guys.
Yeah, so I make things. I do banners, invitations. I did my fun fact. I did my own wedding. I did my own wedding, save the dates with help of my husband, obviously. We do T-shirts. We do it all, but not that it's taken a backseat. But obviously, COVID has made my life very full in terms of different kind of avenues. But yes, that's a fun fact.
That is so dope. So guys, if you have any paper needs or craft needs, shout out to Paula, whoever she is.
No, so it's not only paper. It's like sketching stuff on wine glass.
Oh, I like those things. Yeah, sounds. Yeah,
I got you guys.
So yeah, you want us to put some paper, type something, write a shirt, put something on wine glasses because we love wine. Shout out to Paula. But so before we get into the nitty gritty, because it's about to get real, pop out your pen, paper, notes section in your phone or whatever it may be. We're gonna go to commercial break, and here's the ad. Bing, bing, bong. Is that the words the kids say now?
Bing, bong.
Bing, bong.
Did you hear me say that before?
Yeah, I was like, did Paula really say bing, bong? What
bing, bong.
What even is that?
There's a TikTok of a guy who says, he's an interviewer. Obviously, he's doing this for likes of the fun, right? So it's a guy and he says, what do you want to tell Joe Byron right now? And the guy's like, oh, take me out to dinner, baby. And the other guy's like, because if you see these dogs in your front yard, I'm going to take you for a walk.
Oh my bing bong. And I'm like, what is this bing bong? And then I'm saying it wrong. I'm like, bing, bing bong. They're like, what?
Bing bong. And then he was like, yo, Ariana Grande, you can ride on the cyclone. Bing bong. And the guy is holding 2 baby pit bulls and he's mad hood. And he's like, bing bong. Like, he'd be somebody who'd be like,
I want to bing. I'm going to go into work tomorrow and I'm going to be like, bing bong, boss like, lady. Yeah, I still I'll tell my daughter because I'm about to be 35. I'm a millennial or whatever, and but I'm 35, and my kid is making me seem like I'm old or something. She's like, Mom, you can't do that. I was like, Mom, can you show me how to TikTok? And she's like, you don't TikTok, you do a video for TikTok. Oh my God,
my son is
you're so old. I'm like, I'm 35, and then I'm like, I thought people were old at this age. I was like, I'm sorry to my younger self for thinking that I was old at this age because listen, I want to bing bang. I'm gonna walk in my house like bing bang, and my kids are all
be like,
oh, cringy. That's why you're cringy. I'll be cringy, children.
The best way is when I go pick up my son from high school and I'm blasting all my music.
You see, and
I have my Ray-Bans on and I'm like, bing bang. He's like,
you do not do that to your child. I am sorry for that. I'm sorry for your son. They're sorry.
And
my
if
mom
I'm having a good day.
Forget about it. Yeah, there must be your mom. I'm a professional, so trust me. She would.
So they'll see. So the first time that I met the kids, one of the teachers came up to say something, but I was looking at the school where it was because I know where Hudson Catholic is. But yeah. I was just looking at the okay, what comes around here? I get out the car, and I think I went dressed something like this with glasses, and it was September, so it was like this.
Something cash.
Somebody came out, and he's like, "Are you with Danny?" And I was like, "Fuentes." He's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Yeah." So I pull up my glasses, trying to be respectful, and he's like, "No, where's his mom?"
Sir.
I was like,
right here.
I'm his mom.
I'm the mom. What?
I was like, I'm the mom, and he was like, "You're his mom?" I was like, "Yeah, why?" He's like, Mrs. Fuentes? I was like, yeah, I'm his mom. He was like, oh, I just wanted to say, wait, really? I'm like, I promise I do want to see my license. And he's like, no. He's like, we're used to older parents. And I'm like, I decided to start young in life. And so now my friends are having kids, and I'm like, girl, we going on vacation.
And
bye.
Right, because my kids are now supposed to be 15, and my baby's going to be, 11 this year. And now I'm like, oh my God, my professors in college was right, because I was so I cannot believe it. I had my kids young, I had Elijah young, and I'm like, it's my child, my life. I'm just going to be a mom, and it sucks. I can't have fun. But she's like, you guys, and she's an amazing counselor. I was so grateful for her. Black woman counselor, and I love her. And she was like, it's just in some years from now, you guys are gonna end up meeting at the same place.
Nobody believes that.
Yeah, I don't believe you have a 20-year-old. That's ridiculous. Yeah, when she's 20. When I'm 40, Elijah's gonna be 21.
And that makes me feel like I look at her, and even though she's being an asshole right now, I look at her and I'm like, I got to spend the best years with you. You got the best of me.
Yeah.
And now with my son, I'm like, you're also getting the best of me.
My parents, my parents.
My mom had me at 40-something.
Yeah.
We didn't get along.
And this is why I'm saying this now now because it just segues perfectly into like what we're going to talk about. Like, my parents are, my mom's, like, my mother is 19 years older than me. My dad is 20 years older than me. They've been married since they were 18 and 19 years old. They're married 35 years this year. My dad is 54, turning 55, and my mother, my mother is just
that's
a
milestone birthday too.
Yeah, they're just, my dad, he doesn't care about birthdays, but just in essence, I'm like,
I suppose after a certain day, after a certain age, you don't care about birthdays.
But it's crazy because I'm like, I remember my parents at my age, because I was my son's age, and it's just like, holy crap! It's like you're old enough or responsible, or it's like we think we're responsible to be a parent. But you're also still experiencing the world with them. Like, you're still kind of growing. Like, I'm like
I know that there's you know how people do, I did everything. I got married. I graduated. We did a little backwards. We were together for a while, built a foundation, and we actually graduated together, my husband and I. Oh. But both of my kids got to see it. Yeah. The impression that it left on them was
having already done it, and then your parents, when I did this, when you don't see it, it was a different time.
Both of them saw me cry during it, like when I had to sit here and study, stressed out because my dad was really sick, or when I was sick myself. So it kind of, like, right now my son is talking about being a lawyer. We didn't say anything to him. He's like, Mom, I want to be a lawyer. So for me, it meant more for him to see his parents on the big screen, like, oh my God, my mom and dad graduated. They see you through it. Like I said, you're almost you're growing together, and like I said, all figured out. You just
have some type listen, I'm still trying to figure it out. But like, and
to be 40, and I'm still trying to figure it out.
And I'm
stumbling.
I'm gonna make it. But I say that because like I said, my counselor, she was like, you're gonna meet at the same place, and I'm like, well, my son's in high school, he's a freshman, my oldest, and my daughter will be in middle school next year, and now my friends are now getting married for the first time, some for the second time. Whatever. It's true. I mean, like, I've been there, done that, and I'm divorced. How many divorces have you been through? Like,
one here.
And it's like, oh my God, are we already the divorce days? But it's like, we've experienced so much life already, but now it's like, I see my friends now having babies, and I'm like, oh, there goes the kid. My kid's calling me. Hold up. Pause. Hold up. See, I knew that was gonna happen. So, it's crazy, like, to last week when I was recording, whatchamacallit, I was recording at Aunt Lee's place where he has a little studio, and it was cool. Like, we had a little microphone and all this stuff. Usually I just record at home because Anchor makes it so easy, and you just record it on your phone.
Nice.
And then today I came over to Paula's, and we're recording off my laptop. And so real shit happens. Like, the phone rings, your daughter's calling on FaceTime, and I'm like, you know what? Like, this is life. I feel like a traveling podcaster.
Hey,
right?
That's actually not a bad
It's
idea.
a thing. I will bring the studio to you. Where's the studio? Right here in my bag.
But that makes sense for the time that we're in.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, all this virtual stuff, it's great. So yeah, I know you guys like it's real and raw, but I have a flow that I kind of have to maintain. And the flow just really, it has to be the kids. And it's funny because I was talking about them. But what I was saying initially, going back to before I was really interrupted by my child, even though I'm not with them, isn't that crazy? Even when you're not with them,
for the rest of your life.
For the rest of my life, can I just record a show? But what I was saying was, all my friends now are having kids, and they're all of this stuff. And I do remember when I was in college, my professor said you're gonna meet up at the same place. Right now, you're having your kids young, but guess what? When you're already a little older, that you have, you're a little bit established with the kids, or however it may be, your friends are now going to be finally having the babies and getting their families together. So now I see it like coming to fruition, right? Now I'm like, oh, my kid could babysit your kid. Like,
that's like the running joke with my circle of friends. But it happens. Like, it's like, Danny's old enough, and I'm like, chill, you don't want Danny babysitting your kids. But he was like the oldest of the group.
Yeah, and like my kids, like everybody kind of like, I don't want to say they all raised them, but everybody's the aunties and the uncles, right? But now it's like, I'm the auntie on the kids' school because they all think I'm that young, It's like, and like you said before, like I think my kids have seen me evolve and grow, like maybe all the times weren't like the best situations. I sometimes, some periods of my life I wish they didn't have to see, but it's so much better now because I and like I said, just going right into what we're talking about, because our generations are not so far apart. There are lots of differences, but there's also a lot of similarities, where when I was struggling with my mental health, every day's a struggle, but there was just a period where it's like, I now have to identify that, yes, I have a problem with whatever, and I have to speak up about it because there's help.
Right.
And that is something that I was like, I can't tell my kids this because I'm supposed to be the strong mom. I'm the adult, right? But after being more comfortable and learning, like, there is a stigma against mental health. There is a stigma, and that stigma was definitely more prevalent when our parents were younger.
1,000%.
Yeah, but now it's like we're talking about it now, right? And I'm like, kids are having these mental health issues when they're younger. Like, they'll have panic attacks, have anxiety, have all this stuff. And so if I don't show them that human side of me, like, that happens to me too, right? And now we can talk about it because I'm not coming from a place of authority and this is what you need to do. It's like, well, this is what I struggle with too. And these are things that I do. And if you do need help, these are things that you can do. So it's like the fact that our generations, like I said, are a little bit closer. We have a little bit of a better understanding, and we do see each other grow, because now who I am now and the development I've made, they can see the difference between when mom was not on no medication, I'm not talking to nobody, and they're like, she was a hot ass mess. But you can see you see that the help and the therapy and medication, whatever it may be, like they actively see that it helps. And because it helps me, who they think I'm superwoman sometimes, it can definitely help them, So that goes to ask, what, you said you've been in the mental health field for some time, but like, what do you think are the major differences and in mental health, let's say, whether it be diagnosis or family or culture, whatever it may be, from our parents? Those are what, like are they the baby boomers, somewhere around there? The baby boomers. Yeah, like the baby boomers.
At least my parents.
Yeah. My parents are a little bit younger, but it's usually around that time, of the baby boomers versus us now, who we're like the older Gen Zers and stuff, and versus us and our kids. Like, what do you see as like a major difference? And maybe there are similarities.
So I think, I've been doing this for like 10 years. This has been something that I've kind of dove into. And I can tell you right off the bat that I think therapy, while there's still a pretty significant stigma, it's a lot more accepted. I think so when I say generations, I mean like our generation, we're more accepting of, hey, there's a problem, let's bring somebody on the outside, let's get a fresh perspective, let's get you diagnosed, which I'm not always for. Sometimes you really have to sit with a therapist for a little bit just to kind of get the right diagnosis.
Right.
And you always start low, right? You never want to go high, because that's kind of not professional. But moreover, people are more accepting of the fact that there might be something going on that just family alone can't see it. Not because they're not able to, just because sometimes when you're sitting in shit, you don't know you're sitting in shit.
Yeah. You don't smell it.
You don't smell it, but you're like, there's something wrong. So
I
think what I'm seeing is that there are more families that are willing to kind of come out and say, hey, let's bring in a third party. Let's sit and kind of talk about it. They're more willing to kind of use tools and sit down with groups and do all of these different techniques and homeworks just to try to get themselves into a better version. Versus when I was growing up, it was like, you don't say anything that happens.
Yeah, you don't speak behind these. If you're sad, if you're depressed, just don't be depressed.
And it was never depression wasn't a thing, like it didn't exist.
But you also don't talk about it.
And you don't talk about it because if you do talk about it, it's you're weak. And if you do show emotion, why are you crying and why are you frustrated?
Suck it up.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing now is that there are a lot of families that perhaps are a little bit more open to the fact that, hey, depression is not just a thing. It is a diagnosis. It's a medical thing. And for some people, it's a struggle every hour to the hour, which you should have somebody in your corner saying, hey, how was today? What was going on? Your triggers. I mean, it's like a big machine. But what I'm seeing is that there are a lot of people that they want the help. They want I'm going to throw COVID in there. COVID really shifted mental health into a completely different. It's, and I say this with a lot of respect. You can have all the medical degrees, you can have all the certifications. None of us were prepared for the magnitude of how this was going to hit our frontline workers, our social workers, our therapists, our psychologists. We're tired. I'm exhausted.
Man, I remember when I started going to therapy. It was January, right before COVID.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back there. And I stopped for like a few years, and I was like, okay, let me go. And I went to an outpatient place right here on what is that, Central? I forget the name of it.
Bridgeway?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I went there. They were amazing. Bridgeway was fantastic. And I went there because somebody. They referred me there. Like, I was like, I don't know what I feel. I don't feel suicidal. No, I do not. I think I have too much of an ego to be suicidal. And no disrespect to anybody. Not to say I'm just like I can't. That's not how I'm gonna go out. I didn't feel like I wasn't suicidal, but I'm like, something's not right. Like, something's off, like something serious is gonna happen. It is not that, but I don't know. I was just very frantic.
And I think that's one of the main things, right? That there's something
but
off,
you don't know what it is.
but you just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And sometimes people will, and I'm not trying to take away anything holistic, right? If you have a spiritual practitioner,
we're spiritual people.
So if you do your salt bath, so you do whatever, but sometimes that's not enough, because now you need somebody who's going to come in and say, all right, because it's a diagnosis, like you are putting your answers on a paper, and somebody like me kind of comes in and says, all right, let's look to see where we're at. That doesn't mean that on a scale that we can't fix it, right? Because there's no fixing. It's just like, I'll give you an example. I usually tell people, like, don't, like, try not to name your illnesses. Like, say that you're living with depression.
Right. It's not who you are.
It's not it doesn't define you. It's just one small fragment of the many things that goes on. Because there could be a time that you're not clinically depressed anymore, or my people out here who are living with diabetes. You're learning to live life on a different set of terms, which is kind of...
No, the verbiage is really important, I think, too, because it's like, just with a lot of things, it's like, oh, if I say I'm depressed, and it's just, I'm just a depressed person, it's like, no, there's bouts, there's different ways to live with it, but like, so like, even when that happened, right before COVID, I'm like, I did this 30-day thing, and I was like, I love it here. They're like, yeah, but this, how it works is you don't stay here. We're not moving you. I'm like, oh man, really? Just like, love it here though. You're great. It was so helpful, but they do have a process, and I moved over to, like, there was like somebody at Christ Hospital or something like that, and it wasn't you have to go. It's like, if this is what you want to do, we'll set you up, or if you're good for 30 days, that's that's fine. It could be temporary. So I think they do that
critical care. They kind of stabilize you, and then they move you.
Yeah, and you don't have to. Yeah, if you want to continue, and then there's a whole intake process with that. So I did the intake process, and when March came and they shut down the world, I said, I'm supposed to finally get my life together in my head. I was already taking like the medication, and it was small diet. It was small when they started, which was great. And I'm like, and now you want me to call this lady on the phone and look at her on the video? What? I don't even know her. How am I supposed to talk to her on the phone? This is weird. And even like my kids were doing like therapy, and my son was like, first of all, these like. For remote learning sucked. Like, not sucked, that the teacher sucked. It was just for somebody like my son. He's like, I'm supposed to go to therapy, and I'm supposed to sit here, and even to have him sit in front of a person is hard. Like,
then you're
now you're home in front of them, and he's just kind of like looking around, like, okay, guy, like, I don't want to do. So I'm like, I couldn't imagine for y'all where you're like, okay, now I have to like talk to these people in the computer, and
so I just want to let you guys know the world shut down, but we did not. So we had to kind of have...
Went on overdrive, like, didn't you?
I went from like 0 to 100 over the course of like 24 hours, because when the world shut down, all of our resources shut down with it. So all of our places that we would normally send our patients, and there was nothing open. So we were dealing with people who were homeless, who did not have access to medication, people who were homeless who no longer had access to their group therapies. We had, me specifically, I had patients that, were... like longtime alcoholics, drug users who now were cut off. So now,
oh my gosh.
Then we have people,
and they kept the liquor stores open.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation.
And that's a whole other one. So imagine, that's the only thing open.
Yeah. So then we also had like people who were really utilizing our services as case management and behavioral health services to really kind of find their niche. Never mind just by itself, COVID was a whole thing by itself because we had no idea. We did not know. And you know, I say this with so much love in my heart, but you know, in the beginning, we lost a lot of patients because it wasn't like it is now where there was treatments. I mean, people were in I mean, I have very close friends. My niece is an NP. And just to see the stress on her face when she was dealing with COVID completely in a different way than I was.
Right.
To see the world kind of shut down. I mean, I remember looking out my window and like not seeing a car, and I was like, I would wake up to go to work and like, what do you like? How do you?
Yeah, were therapists considered first responders? Like,
yes,
medical. Like, 'cause I know the medical, like they have to physically go, but I know it's a different category.
We're a different kind of frontline working, right? Because most of us, like you said, a lot of our intake is you being there, right? A lot of what I do is me looking at you and kind of getting the vibe like, hey, everything's okay, or you know what, Steph looks a little off today, right? Let me bring it up.
It's a feeling.
But it's a feeling, but I'm feeling it because you're there.
Not the
so
computer.
So they were. I mean, I think everybody across the board was just frantic with trying to figure out how are we going to do telehealth visit, because technically, because I work for an insurance company, it's not a billable visit. This is something that I have to do, but we had to get like legal involved, like what's available for HIPAA, because we protect HIPAA. I protect HIPAA like I protect HIPAA.
Right.
I will not. I always make sure that the person is safe. Are you okay to talk? Because that's part of my intake.
Right.
With telehealth,
you're home, and I can't even talk about why I'm feeling this way because a person's here, or I don't want them to know. Or
so even like as a clinician, I had to make sure that I had a space where I wasn't going to be interrupted, where my bell wasn't going to ring, where you know I had that dedicated time. And you know the world shut down, and
like where's the problem? I'm in the problem.
Yeah, I'm literally like this is not. And we, you know, I will never throw medicine under the bus because I chose to be in this field, but we all had to think outside the box. I mean, I remember having like rounds with my supervisor, like, what are we doing going forward? And then people at my job were coming down with COVID. So we were covering each other's like cues, and you know, one would call me and say, hey, is this place open? And then remember at one point nobody was allowed outside. So like how do you help a marginalized population with like no tools? I don't care how long you were in med school, NP school, nursing school, MAs.
You literally have to think outside of the box. Like whatever your guide is, it's like toss it to, not completely, but it's like, okay, because
throw that whole book out and sit down and rewrite a new book on how to live through a pandemic being a practitioner.
But that's why people like you and I admire it. And like I said, I mean, I know it's the first time like we actually meet in person, but I do know, like, I read your stuff, I've spoken and stuff, but it's like, you can tell you think outside the box already. Like,
I try.
When I have a therapist, I don't want them to be like, okay, it sounds like you have this, so you have to do A to Z. It's like, okay, but you see me? You know me, I'm not gonna do that, or that doesn't work for me. So I think in COVID or not, one, you already have to think outside the box, because then I'm like, well, it's like teachers. Okay, you can go down the guide, but then you see a child.
Anybody who's listening to the teacher, hats off to you, because I solidified in my life that I was not a teacher when my son was being remotely schooled. I was like, this is Jesus. What are you doing?
I tell my kids, you respect your teachers.
Oh man,
you
100%,
respect them.
100%.
Don't be disrespectful. I will beat you.
Beat you. Well, you know, I'm trying. You know,
you're not doing no violence.
But I have so much respect, because trying to divide myself away from my computer when my son's like, Ma, the Wi-Fi, my computer, and I'm like, what is that? Jesus,
times 25?
Yeah, I'm like, Jesus, I said that I didn't want to be a teacher. Why are you putting me in this whole particular?
And then you have to do that plus that, and then it's crazy, because it's like I said, even teachers, they're like, I know this child in school, maybe they're fidgety. Okay, you can do certain things that you know that because they're there. So now you have all these kids on the screens on the thing, and you have all these other issues, and it's like same thing with thing with therapists. I need to see you to be able
to see you.
So it's like I honestly didn't go to therapy when they said I gotta call somebody. I'm like, I ain't doing that shit. Yeah. I'm not gonna do it.
Most people, I'm not because I'm gonna be very honest with you.
Because I want to see you in my face.
Yeah. So I did a lot of field work, which meant that I would visit my patients out in the hospitals, at home, once they were discharged, like different things that we did, right? So a lot of people, they got used to me being the face that they saw.
Right.
So when that cut, so I made the active decision to not go into the field because we had our first case in West New York. And I said to my boss, listen, I'll do whatever, but I'm not going out there. Because at that point, we still didn't know how serious really. Now we're getting the reports back that, hey, this is a lot more serious than we thought. So I just, looking back, I don't know how I'm not bald. I can tell
got a whole lot of hair, Paula.
I sat at the computer like, you know what? And I remember at one point, like, we were all very, very stressed out. And I'm not only with work stressed out, but my husband was still like outside. And I'm like,
my God. And you have
what
a
does
kid,
this mean? And I have a kid, and I'm like, you're gonna have to take your clothes off at the door. And I remember the stress. And I remember just one day, I walked into my bathroom, and I'm washing my hands because I already have a germ thing. Like, I already have sanitizers. Like, that wasn't new for me. And I've always worked from home. So I was already used to it. But I walked into the bathroom. I walked out and I was just sobbing. Like, it hit me. Like, this is real life. And you decided to be a professional. And you're going to, dry your tears. I went back to what I told my patients. You're going to write down what is frustrating, right? Because it's got to be tangible for me. I got to be able to look at it and say, okay, that's how I started to better organize being creative out of the box. Some of my patients showed, some of them didn't, some of them were not with it, but I was like, look, you still need the therapeutic services. You still need me. Let's meet me halfway.
I need to help you. I'm trying here.
I'm trying. I said, I'm here working. Never mind that the insurance companies were like, what is happening? People are dying. Like, and we're being pulled into conference calls. And so many of us were having mind you, some of these people that I work with, they also moonlight as nurses. So they were really seeing COVID and they're coming back like, this is not no bronchitis. This is really serious. This is super scary. So it wasn't all the information that my niece was giving me, all the information that my friends were giving me, I was like, this is what is happening? There was no, I'm sorry, Aunt Frank, there was no Bible verse, there was no certification, there was no class that was going to help me. Like, at that point, and my supervisor said this to me, and I kept it to my heart. All of the superheroes were going to come out at that point because we still had to work and we still had to make it work.
And you have to, at the same time as you're helping people with the mental health, your own mental health. I mean, I feel like my friends are always like, they're therapists. They're like, I have therapists. I'm like, who's your who is the super therapist? Who's the boss lady at the top? Yeah. Because they all need it. So I'm like, I can imagine your own mental health is like, okay, I gotta keep you. In anything, we're always like, I gotta keep it together. But then more so when you're already in that field and you already have your own, mental health you have to take care of. But then at that time, you're also like, okay. And I'm pretty sure that mental health was at a mental health disorders or whatever. You didn't have something, now you had it.
Well, I'll give you an example. So you have some of our patients who are agoraphobic, which don't like to go outside. Okay, so we're going to couple that.
Shit.
Yeah, we're going to couple that.
Crap.
We're going to couple that with now you can't go outside.
Oh shit! And then
how are you gonna go get groceries?
Oh fuck!
How are you? So now, I mean, social media is one of those tools that you love it and I love to hate it as a parent. And
that's where you got your bing bong from.
Yes, mom. Bing bong. So even as a mental health professional, for me, it was very difficult to kind of not listen to the news and not provide.
There's a dog here, guys. We apologize,
so
but nah.
He's blind, guys. So any little
we got a blind dog here.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He's old. He's like 13.
Oh my god.
He's still kicking. He ain't going nowhere.
The classical dog music, guys. If you don't have it, you must listen to it.
Guys, you're gonna go on your Alexa and you're gonna play classical for pets, and she's gonna do diligence because he's been quiet this whole time.
Oh my gosh.
So
what were you saying? You had people who and then what like OCD? People have OCD and they're like,
that was really rough because how do you help what you can't see, right? So we had to come up with like COVID rounds where we would, because at one point while mental health kind of didn't fall on the back burner, they're trying to marry it. I'm like, okay, so what do I deal with? What am I dealing with with people who have anxiety? who already have anxiety about.
And if you didn't have anxiety before COVID, you have it now.
Right. And people, my clients, my patients who are depressed, right? Who really struggle. Like, there are certain patients that I'm like, okay, we got this. But then there are other patients that I really, really follow up with, like.
And then people are dying. They see people dying every day or something.
The news the news did nothing. I mean, the news did what it did, right? But it didn't provide the necessary information. Like, hey, I had one lady who definitely had OCD, and she was trying to get packages, and her packages just kind of, she's like, oh, what do I do? Do I bring them in? I was like, Gloria, I don't know.
Wrap them up in a bag.
I'm like, just put gloves on, like, and you get frustrated because you're like, well, what am I going to do in this situation? But then you have to, you remember.
It's very real. You can't see it, but it's very real.
And my mental health at one point, it's like, I had to tell my boss, I need a couple of days. I don't care if I don't move out of bed. I don't care if I just shower and go back to the bed. I need to not pick up the phone, because at this point, I don't even know how to answer some of these questions. And it's not like we had answers right away, guys. It's not like we had, like, this is what it is. We did not. We were kind of flying by what the claims.
When is this going to be over?
Also, I want to say that the hospitals were so inundated that their claims weren't coming through. So we had no idea what people were getting. So it's not like we got these claims like months later, like, oh, she had, she was hypoxic, she had anemia. Like, we weren't getting any of this real time. We were only getting this if we would call the hospital. What nurse was going to be able to talk to you for 15, 20 minutes when she's got 15, 20 people in the ER, going into ICU, being tricked? Again, people don't realize the fuckery that happened behind. And meanwhile, we're all just like, well, we're going to think outside the box. What does that mean?
We're professionals trying to keep people's mental health together.
Yeah.
Where we're losing our shit.
Yeah, we had like coffee breaks like twice a day where we would kind of call like on very.
They should have gave y'all tequila breaks at this point.
Well, I don't drink, but I definitely. And I remember.
If you didn't drink, you were drinking.
Yeah, but I remember like even something as small as walking to Dunkin' to get myself coffee, right, became like stressful. Like, I was like, all right, you know what's out there.
I gotta go outside.
And I'm like, you're gonna go outside. And I remember.
4 masks on.
But this was before, like, so I'm not gonna lie, I was like I don't want to wear a mask. But then I remember walking down the street and I didn't see anybody. And I looked over at the hospital and I remember seeing people outside, like, just like coughing. And I was like, I know. And I walked back to my house. And I was like, all right, Keurig, you know what? We're going to F Dunkin', F Starbucks right now. We're going to use the Keurig. And I don't care how bad the coffee is.
Paula's Palace.
That's it. Paula's Place. Come get your cup of coffee or tea. Because, we do both. But, it really, really, honestly... And then, again, remember, elective surgeries were canceled.
Oh,
so you had people that were kind of waiting, and they were like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm so sorry, mister. I just vent. Just is fine. You can curse me out. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to take it personally, but just talk to me.
If you need to cuss me out, cuss me out.
That's what I said. I was like, I have nothing to do with your claim, but I'm here to listen. And if you need to tell me that you're scared and you're frustrated, then that's what we're going to do, because that's the information that I really got to take back so that everybody listens. It's not weird. Again, our resources were closed. Government offices were closed. Places that we would have sent them to get some kind of, there was nothing.
Yeah.
And people were sick.
Do you feel like, and I don't know, maybe I didn't even do enough research on this. I probably read it, or I probably put a lot of shit behind my head because I'm like, I don't want to talk about COVID. The world's open again. Yes, we're moving on.
Yeah.
They said no mask.
I'm in the same.
But if I can remember correctly, what do you feel like? Is there a particular like diagnosis you would say maybe maximized or like shot up, or like that?
I will tell you, drug use shot up. Alcohol use shot up. Depression shot up. People who were not agoraphobic became agoraphobic.
Oh,
anxiety. Everything.
People who were what? I didn't even think about that one.
People who were not agoraphobic became agoraphobic. Like, they didn't want to go outside.
Oh my God.
So I don't like. I think I said it earlier. I don't like to throw out diagnoses, right?
Yeah,
because
right.
I need to get to know you, and I need to get to know your life, and I can only do that once a week for an hour, and sometimes I do it twice, depending on how I feel the need is, because I don't want to spread myself out thin either, right? Because I dedicate time to each one of my patients, to their families. So, I had to kind of take a step back and say, all right, well, now we have an influx. We were at we were wavering on different percentages. Now that's not the case. It's not the case. I'm still struggling with trying to get everybody back to I don't want to say normal, but a somewhat okay
pace,
like a stability that I can be like, okay, like I said, there was a lot of stuff happening in this insurance companies behind the scenes where we were really struggling, case managers, RNs, behavioral health. I mean, we were all trying to come in together and say, what can we do?
Let's figure it out
For the better of the people, because again, we were also kind of these claims were not rolling in like people.
If it wasn't COVID, it's something else was gonna take somebody out. That wasn't COVID.
Mental health took like it's always taken a backseat to the more tangibles, like to the heart disease, to the diabetes, because that's stuff that you can medically see.
Right.
With mental health, that's not the case, because somebody can come in a 3-piece suit with a $4,000 bag, and that there's something going on, right? So it doesn't have a cookie cutter approach, and it shouldn't, because everybody is unique. Everybody's experiences are unique. Everybody's life is unique, and so you take that into consideration when you're doing an intake. And to build rapport takes time. So it didn't take a full back seat, but when the claims started coming through for severe mental health issues, it's literally COVID, mental health, COVID. I'm not kidding, it's COVID.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. Like, I know for me, and we'll go to a break in just like a couple of minutes. I'll, end this whole segment with this. Y'all know I promote on the side or whatever for the Get Down. Follow us on Instagram. But people don't understand. I feel like, I know people were scared to go outside. I get it. I understand. In clubs, oh my God, there's people.
Yeah.
So when we particularly went to, like, let's say 46 Lounge, we don't ever want to do anything illegal. And I'm not ever going to stamp my name like, yeah, let's go outside and we're not supposed to, or I'm not going to stamp on that. So, they did have an outside, and we were able to, I don't want to say a loophole, but they served food until they had to close outside, and we followed, we had to follow all of that, and people were, I can't believe you're outside, but guess what? I did that, and I jumped on the team right before COVID started, because I was like, okay, there's music and there's people, and if I have to stay in my house every single day, and I'm not going to therapy, I get to be around people and music, because this is what's gonna keep me balanced at least for a few hours a week. And
I didn't mention was the patients that recovered from COVID, right? That we haven't. That's a whole separate.
Oh my God.
That's a whole separate population of people.
Yeah.
That's a whole separate.
Yeah, because now you have all these. Oh my God, I couldn't
imagine.
Now,
what we've heard is that COVID does this and COVID does that. Right. So you have people that
really know until now we're learning.
Right. So you have people that didn't necessarily have, let's say, diabetes. Right. Now we're dealing with diabetes. They didn't have heart disease. Now they're dealing with heart disease. Some of them have long-term COVID. So you have people that me as a practitioner, I'm sitting here saying, okay, so let's take a full medical history, right? Now I'm looking at you and I'm saying, I get it. Like, I get it. So let's take it pace by pace. But we're not even looking at the people who come home from COVID that have PTSD, that have to go. So that's what I'm saying. So it was like for lack of a better word, a clusterfuck of just a bunch of different. Yeah, it's like a bunch of storms and a bunch of fires, and you're trying to put everyone out.
Yeah, I felt even at that time, I'm like, don't tell me what to do, because you don't even know what the hell you're doing. So don't tell me to not go outside or go outside, because guess what? I had COVID, and you were inside your house, and you still got it. So what are we going to do? I went outside, and you did, and you're still sick. But we're going to go to this break right now real quick. We're going to just, I don't know, I'm going to throw one of these little sponsored ads on real quick, and we'll come right back, guys. So give us a minute. Bing bong, no. Bing bong, bing bong. I had to say it. Gosh, I'm freaking corny and I don't care. You love it. Vibe with Steph, y'all. Yeah. So, as we said, it is Women's History Month. And I do want to highlight something aside from having a woman guest. Issues that affect women. I mean, at the end of the day, all issues affect women. We could talk about healthcare and women workers, but that's not going to be the topic today. When my big questions, and something I always wanted to know, like, are there diagnoses pre-COVID, after COVID, whenever, that you feel like maybe more, and this is probably their stats, of course, but just on your personal experience, do you see that, like, maybe more women suffer more with one thing, or men, or like, are there different treatments that you feel like are more helpful for women and men, or that whole, like, what are the differences, like that gender difference? I know that's a
Mars, women are from Venus. Let's
Mars and me, yes.
There are obvious difference. So I think now kind of coming forward and kind of coming out of this haze of what is COVID, right? And now that we've got some very specific data around clinical mental health, treatment plans, there's definitely more diagnosis of depression. And just going to kind of preface all that by saying we totally forgot about another population of people, the moms who were also having children.
Hello, that's me with 3 kids. When I had COVID, I was like, oh my God, my kids, I think I ordered food for about 2 weeks straight. I didn't cook anything. I didn't leave my room. My kids were walking around in masks. They would drop food off at the door.
Yeah.
Like here, and thank God they didn't get it. No, none of my kids had COVID.
But I'm talking about like the pregnant moms.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm talking about the moms who were having babies, right?
My nephew was born during COVID. My best friend's son was born during COVID too.
Hats off to the people, and I'm going to tell you why. Because even coming out of that pandemic, postpartum depression is significantly higher.
Wow, I didn't think of that.
Right, so we're even looking at so there's a lot of studies going on, like maternal health, right? Because historically, women of color, in terms of fatality, in terms of placenta previa, in terms of postpartum, they are on the really high end of the spectrum when it comes to healthcare. And even like obstetrics, gynecology, like there's a lot of data out there that's kind of pointing to women of color not getting the appropriate treatments. Even women of color that you're going to say, okay, that are not on like the Medicare, Medicaid, because that's a whole set. Like,
the medical treatment, the inequality,
So
I've experienced that personally.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So you're even looking at a whole separate study, a whole separate set of data points that point to postpartum depression, postpartum depression, postpartum, life, pregnancy during COVID, right? Where you would think some of these pregnancies are with a partner, like, you have somebody by your side,
and they can't even go with
this by yourself. The medical emergencies, the women who needed C-section, like, so that's what I'm saying. So yes, in terms of mental health for women,
even think of that, Paula.
So in terms of mental health for women, I'm going to definitely tell you that depression is definitely up. But on the flip side of it, I think us practitioners, and we know that it exists, we're a little bit more mindful in terms of, I can only speak for myself and maybe a couple of other people that I share the platform with in terms of therapy. Like, I see it from other influencers, right? Other people who are psychologists, other people who do therapy. The modalities that we use are unique to us as experience, right? So my modality is probably different from somebody else listening to this, and they may agree or may not. I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
But when you get together with women of color, but even men of color too, because I do have some therapy friends who are men of color, and you get together and you powwow, that's how you make differences. That's how you kind of really put it together in terms of what can we offer, right? So depression is definitely something that has been, PTSD is neck and neck with depression. And
I got them both. Check mark there. Give me one more.
I promise
two for two.
I've never had anxiety a day in my life. I can tell you that I've had bouts of depression.
I got that one too. 3 for 3.
Okay.
Vibe with Steph, y'all.
Sorry. I'm not laughing.
Joking, not joking. But isn't it funny that I could joke about it now? Because it's really scary. It's really scary. Holy shit, it's scary.
So that's what I mean. Like, you have all of these different people who are kind of coming in and we're all talking about it, right? But you look at it from the lens of, okay, now what? Now how do we piece back everything together? So, my men population, I don't discriminate anybody, meaning you come to me, if there's something I can help you with, if there's a service that I can provide for you, I will. But if not, I always have a colleague that's able, ready, and willing to help, because that's kind of
you
what
have a network.
Do. Absolutely. Yeah. But I can tell you that, between the men and the women are a little bit more vocal when it comes to saying, this is how I feel.
It's almost like anything. You hear that, men? Maybe share how you feel, gentlemen.
Oh boy. I feel like this is going to lead into another conversation.
Sorry, not for nothing, guys.
But
like off that beer bag post.
Yeah, but even some of my men clients, my men patients, take a little bit of time to kind of test the waters with me and say, hey, this is what's going on. Because
do you think it's because you're a woman, or do you think like if they had a male therapist, it would have to be different?
I think it depends. I think with me, because I do have, for my caseload for work, I do have a lot of Spanish-speaking members because I'm obviously certified to speak translate assessments, right? So sometimes they'll hear me on the phone and they're like taken aback, right? So they're like, you're calling from where? And what is it that you do? And can I have your phone number? And I'm like, sure. So I'm very easy peasy. If you tell me, fuck off, no problem, sir. Have a great day. I'm here if you need me. I'm going to call you in 3 weeks just to check in on you.
Right.
So sometimes
I will fuck off generously, sir. Thank you.
Happily. I don't take anything personally. You can't in this field.
Oh, gosh.
So I think it's because I'm a woman of color and because there's not a language barrier. Do I think that if there was a Spanish-speaking therapist that kind of said, hey, I'm here to help you, they might open up. But once they start to hear that I'm from Jersey City, that I'm well known within the community, that I'm doing work in Newark, I think they're okay with it. But all of my women of color, white women.
But that's something that we share. It's almost like, and I've heard it, when they say, if you're a black woman, maybe it's, and that's not in all cases, and I am no medical professional, but if you're a black woman, it's great to have another black woman, a black woman therapist across from you, because they can share or they can understand the struggles or the experience. Because I had a white therapist, a woman. She was dope. She was great, and I personally didn't also have any struggles where it had to do with my race or anything like that, because just where I live. But I'm sure that if I started talking about some kind of racial experience that I had or anything like that, she maybe couldn't or wouldn't understand. But in that moment, she probably would have directed me to somebody. You know what I mean? But
that's the hope, right?
Yeah.
That you have a network of people that can identify. But it's almost like the superhero syndrome, right? No therapist wants to ever say, or no person in the medical field ever wants to say, I don't know, right? Because that makes you look like inept. But I had a therapist. I can't say that it really went well, because I was like, this bitch is out her mind. So I
go see your therapist.
Yeah,
who is your
I was
boss?
like, So even when I was doing the credentialing for school and the licensing, I was very fortunate to have both ends of the spectrum. I had a male person of color, right, who taught me nothing, right? We did not click at all.
Sir, what are you good for?
That's basically what I looked at him like, why am I here? But then the woman, right, the woman who ended up being my supervisor for that time period taught me so much stuff that I was like, what? And she came from a community center, so she saw it all. She spoke to every single provider, and the providers would actually go to her and say, hey, do you have an intern that can come in? So she really taught me the experience, right? And this is not to say that if you have a person opposite of who you are, that it's not going to work. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying sometimes in hindsight, it may be beneficial for you to find a therapist that you can vibe with on a level that, hey, this person is Spanish, hey, this person is black, this person is Dominican, or
it doesn't anything. Even
it makes a difference.
Yeah, I work in real estate, and we have a Spanish segment, a Spanish whole portion that thankfully we speak Spanish. But when people hear, let's say there's an agent, they're speaking Spanish, they could be an asshole if they speak Spanish or English. But if you have that person, you have everything else along with that commonality, it's like, oh, you speak my language, great, but that's in anything. I know when I'm walking anywhere, I see a black bald-headed girl, I'm like, hey, girl, because we have that commonality. You know what I
got it. I see a curly girl, and I'm like, hey, girl.
Yeah, the curly girls, you see somebody something in common. Even when you wear the same clothes, oh my God, hey, I like your jacket. Yeah. So, and I can imagine in therapy when you have something common, you're like, hey, I get it. And I know, aside from, let's say, mental health, your patients with are women and all that stuff, I know probably within the profession itself, the women and women, we gotta stick together. Not to say men and men should stick together. We're people. Everybody should kind of work together. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure there's probably, inequality within, the
girl. Please don't get, that's not.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic. But aside from that's another topic. But aside from having to deal with that impatience, that difference is you have to deal with it in your profession. Like, okay, I gotta
definitely listen. I can sit here and tell you that I've gone toe to toe with some of my colleagues. Well, I'm not even gonna say colleagues. These are people that I work with.
I could totally imagine you going toe to toe with anybody.
And I
anybody. And you're about how tall are you? Like, really? like tiny. What's good?
I'm average size though.
But then you have your professional voice, and then you from Jersey City.
It'll go
like
zero.
the whole
it goes 0 to 60 real quick.
Puerto Rican, Jersey City, like where? What happened?
So actually funny. I have there's a couple of people for work that I lean on, like when I have specific questions, but mainly I do my job and I do it very well. So I've gone toe to toe with, whether it be an RN, because here's the thing, and I say this with a lot of respect, and this is not to disrespect my medical crew, but if you're not a licensed therapist, you have no business, zero business diagnosing, zero business giving therapy, zero. I mean zero. I mean, and I mean that with all respect. Just because you have RN attached or anything you are an RN, meaning you do clinical work.
You have as much experience as I do. None.
Yeah, leave the therapizing to the people who have gone to school. Because so with therapy, I think people think that it's just you. No, you. For some of us, like for me, for instance, for doing clinical, I had to sit through psychopharmacology. I had to sit through clinical. I had to sit through a year of psychopharmacology. I had to sit with pharmacists. I had to sit with psychiatrists and really learn the underpinnings of medication. Why? Because not every one of my patients is on medication, but I do have patients that do have a medication regimen, and that has to be understood. They have to know what they're taking. They have to understand side effects. So I had to sacrifice extra time with my family.
Yeah, well, just like you're not performing surgery on anybody because
I can do that too. One of my many, many, many talents.
Paula can do anything. She can do it all. She'll give you therapy and give you.
I will set your broken arm while giving you therapy, guys. No, but in all seriousness, I've found that a lot of people will give opinions, and even like an LCADC, which is another separate certification with licensing that's for certification in drug and alcohol abuse, right? If you don't have that, you don't have the right to undermine somebody else because you don't understand. What you should do is leverage your therapists and your licensed clinical social workers to come in, because we see all the shit that you don't. We hear everything. Let me tell you something. When a patient opens up to me, 9 times out of 10, I'm sitting there mind blown.
Well, you can't have an ego trip. Like, I mean,
there are a lot of Napoleons.
Yeah, you're like, I know better than. Like, you can know whatever the hell you want, but this is an actual person, like an actual human being.
I work a lot with OBGYNs to kind of really take away some of that stigma with postpartum depression and really put a face to what it looks like, because a lot of women won't come forward. They won't say that they have postpartum because they're afraid.
Some people don't know.
Yeah.
Some women don't know. I didn't know when I had my oldest one was 19. And I was like, I know shit about pregnancy, baby. I didn't know nothing. I had to grow into that. I didn't know I had postpartum depression until I had my daughter. And I had my daughter, 4 years later, I was like 23, turning 24. And I already had, it was the last one.
Right.
And I'm like, I've heard about this, but I'm like, oh.
Or people will try to psych themselves out, like, I don't have that. It's not every day. And people think that depression is an everyday thing. And I'm here to tell you that it is not. You're going to have amazing days, and then you're going to have shit days. And then you're going to have days where life doesn't make sense, but you're dealing, right? So the idea is that it's day by day, minute by minute. Try to find something good in every day. And this is very cliche, and this is very super high level overview. But, like I said, I've gone toe to toe with people, and I'm very professional when I tell you to fuck off. You'll understand what I mean. But I find it now more than ever, and I say this with love in my heart, women of color in professional settings like what I'm doing, we need to stick together. We need to be each other's platform. We need to be therapists for one another, because only we know what we see, right? So I can sit here. My therapist is a beautiful woman. She listens to me. She's also an older Puerto Rican. And she's like, I see so much of myself in you, but you have different tools than I have.
Right.
But to be able to kind of have your own people, like have your own tribe, that's more important to me than any modality. Because like I said, you can be the greatest therapist, and 9 times out of 10, it's your experience that kind of helps to kind of, tie in those loose ends. But we need the men of color too, guys. Find your therapist. Anybody who's licensed, find me. We will get groups together, because this is how we move things into positive movement, into really bringing mental health to where it needs to be and not just where it's at.
Yeah, and we joking, not jokingly, like women are, and I say it, like we are We are creators. We're really superheroes. I swear, we carry babies for 9 months. We got either sliced open, pushed it out, and we have to take care of them every day. There's no sick days. There's none. And I mean, I find now, shit, I'm like the only, right? I raised my kids. I had COVID 2 times. And my kids still, they made it, I still had to be a mom.
Absolutely.
I still have to be a mom. I still have to be a mom. It didn't matter.
I'm going to say that I'm blessed that I have an amazing support system with my husband, right? Because on the days that I just mentally, and I don't even mean mentally, I mean, I mentally couldn't think. When I say there was an inability to think, there was an inability to process any. Most people know that I obviously go silent after a certain time, but if you call me, I pick up the phone because I like to. There were days where I was just like, I don't want to eat, and he's like, are you sure? I'm not hungry. Please bear in mind that I was also dealing with my own medical shit during COVID. Almost died. Surgery was like, no, you can't come in, and I'm like, sure.
Die here on my couch.
I'm just gonna sit here and basically be like a skeleton because full disclosure. I didn't know I was diabetic, and I went into full-blown DKA, and I was like 96 pounds. By the time I got to Hackensack, it was 96 pounds. I was tiny.
You were smaller than me?
No, I was really, but that's for me, that's very unhealthy. So that's what I'm saying. To have a support system in place is necessary. It's pinnacle, it's core, it's the nucleus of my life, right? Because on the days that I can't be a mom, not that I can't, I just don't have the mental capacity to deal with my son on that level. My husband steps in, no questions asked. If I have to sleep, it's shut off the lights. You heard my dog before; he'll play that music so the dog shuts up. So it's kind of like really having people in your corner that can talk to you, that can see. You know what? She's off. And then even times where if I'm pissed off about something that didn't go right at work, or even something professionally, the first person to respond is my husband. He's like, "You good?" And I'm like, "No." And he's my person. When yeah. And I'm like, "You know what else?" And he's like, "Oh, well, did you have coffee, baby? Did you Starbucks?" No.
And I feel like, maybe it's all across all professions, all fields, or whatever. But I'm like, women. It's almost like we always have to overqualify ourselves. Okay, sir, I have this certification, bam, 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 bam. And Mr. Hoo-ha over there is just, he just graduated 2 years ago. You know what I mean? And
I've had to literally fight, and I say that, and I think that's the best word. I've had to fight, bite, claw, show up sick. Mind you, I'm not saying that that's not the right way to do it, but it's really not the right way to do it. I don't believe in working yourself to death. I don't. When do you enjoy life? When do you
ain't gonna kill me?
No. So I've had to, when I tell you, I've had to put big girl pants on and say, all right, you want to do this? No problem. Not that I don't want to, because I'm 100% advocate. I'm always. I have a problem with having to do more to get paid less.
Right.
But to do more to show I'm here, I can do the job. Yeah. And I'm talking about whether it's conferences, whether it's, webinars that I'm doing, it hits a little different as a woman of color, because it's I'm here, but you don't see me. You'll never ask a male colleague, oh, your son is sick while you're coming into work. You'll never ask that. You don't even 9 times I've had situations where they're like, oh my God, are you okay? Are you getting into the
I don't know, women, they have their periods every month, but what?
No, some women can't function on their periods. It's science data, and we're still sitting here like, oh my God, just throw a heat pack on it.
Or the funniest one? I told my boss the other day. They were like, oh gosh, we couldn't have a female president. They're so emotional. They'll bomb the world. I'm like, do you see the current state of the world? They're all men.
Yeah,
they're all men.
That's my favorite.
They're all men.
So emotional. Right.
And then the Russian piece of crap. He's 5'7", and he's a man, and he's got a complex.
Oh, poor guy.
Women will all negotiate. Look, ladies, this is what we're gonna do, and this is what we're not gonna do.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because it's also that nurturing thing. But that reminds me of whatchamacallit is this show. I always talk about it. What's the name of it? It's on Netflix. I forget shit. For Cuban, not Once Upon a Time. It's
Did I miss the show?
Yeah, you did. I'm gonna get it. I can't remember it right off the top. Every time you talk about it, I always forget the name of it. It's just very it's relatable. So the mom, she's like a veteran, a divorced, she has the kids, and she has her own mental health issues, but she works in a doctor's office, and she's been with the doctor since like they opened, like for years.
So she's the G.
Yeah, and she started working there like around after like 9/11, you know. So she's got all this thing. She was a medical professional in the military, like she's got all the experience. So
and they got her as a secretary.
Yeah, well, she was the office manager or whatever it may be, but she's been doing it. She loves the doctor. And he was a Jewish, he's like the Jewish doctor, the head of office. And then there's the white guy, right? And this is, again, it's TV, but it's real life. It just happens. He was younger, very, like, his character was like the jock, or yeah, just talk to her wherever you want. He hadn't had as many years of experience as her. He was newer at the office, and he was getting paid like $4 more. And she did no idea. And so I forget what it was. They were having a conversation, and like you could even tell, again, it's acting, but this is real stuff that happens. And she presented an idea, and they shut her down. And she was like, "What the hell? Like, I'm trying to say something." And then like a couple meetings later, like no, they were like, "Oh, she's just being emotional, you know, the women stuff." A couple of meetings later, the guy said the same idea she had, and they were like, "Oh, this is great." And she's just looking at her, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
See.
And then on top of that, after that, they were saying like, you know, you don't talk about salary on the job or whatever. That's what they say. But I see why, because you can see
you can keep it quiet. Mm-hmm.
But the guy mentioned something. The one who gets paid more than her, but he didn't even say like being cocky. Like he had no idea. She was like, "Wait a minute. You get paid how much more than me?" And she was like dumbfounded. She was like, "How the hell? I've been here," and she had all her credentials, right? And you would think like, you know, I've been with the doctor for all these years. Like, we've been her friends. Like, how could he do that to me? She quit. She's like, "I'm not coming in." And he's like,
"Why would you?"
He's like, "What happened?" The doctor he said, "What?" And she's like, I have to, like, she was the backbone of the whole office. And you could tell he did value her and all this stuff. But at the end of the meeting, and I think it was almost like a double-edged sword, not a double-edged sword, but I guess it's something women in any profession could relate to, where he goes, she's like, "Well, how does he get paid more than me? And I did this, and I did this." And he just asked. And I was just kind of like, yeah, I mean, it made me think, right? Because I'm like, well, what the hell? Men get paid. And that for the most part, it happens. But it also made me, on the flip side, it was like, you know what? That's a strong point.
Yeah.
And I was like, she was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, he asked." And she was like, "So if I would just ask for whatever," she's like, "Yeah." Because he was being a doctor. And she was like, "Well, okay, well," she wanted to go back to the office. And he was like, she goes, "I want a $6 raise." And he's like, "Okay." And then she was like, "Plus this." And she made it like, she raised it up, right? So it was like, I think she got like X amount of dollars more. But she's like, "Wait, we're going to say no?" Because he valued her. He said yes. He was like, "Shit."
That's awesome. See, but when you have somebody like that.
But it was a little exaggerated. Not exaggerated.
Of course.
It's the show.
For the show.
But it also made me.
But it's real life.
But I'm like, one, not to blame the gender wage gap on us, you know. But at the same time, it does make me wonder, like, we know our worth and we know what we're capable of at any workplace. And I'm like, shit, some of us don't negotiate at all. Yeah. And I realized that. I was like, at former jobs, I'm like, I never asked for more as I should. Or I'd be like, "Oh, they'll see." Oh, it's like, but then the man, they'll just, this is what they want. And it's like, shit, if we negotiate, maybe we would have. And not to say all cases.
Right.
And not to say, again, we're the reason why we have that wage gap.
I think, like, we need to have more women in HR, right? That can have seminars like this, that can say, when you're going in for an interview, this is what you're laying on the table. Like, learn how to use the verbiage so that you have
negotiation
power
skills
in the room. Yeah.
Because we run everything else. Like, why can't we? How? Like, I'm like, damn, we really make the world go around. We run households, we run businesses, we run all this stuff. And what they say, behind every great man is a great woman. Yes, we could negotiate our shit. We could do that, but we don't think to. Sometimes
we don't, because you know what, we're so used to being quieted. We're so used to being like, "Oh, this is what I'm gonna get, and they're gonna see my worth." No, open your fucking mouth or talk to your therapist, because therapy shouldn't be when you're crash and burning. when you're crash and burning, that's a whole different type of therapy. When we
that's
stabilize,
crisis.
So that's crisis management. That's a whole different set of skills, a whole different conversation.
We're trying to avoid getting there.
Right. So talk to your therapist. Talk to a life coach, guys. That is also my cat. There's a zoo in this house. Yep.
We got a fat white, light cat and the dark skinned cat and the blind dog.
Oh God.
And they're all guys.
Yeah. I'm the only.
They better treat you like a whole queen. You know, I mean, not this month, but every month.
All the time. I like I said, I give my husband props. I am not an easy person to deal with.
She's a Cancer, guys.
Yeah, I'm super. I run on instinct and gut, and I can get emotional, and but because of my support system, I think he balances me out. Because if I'm being irrational on something, he'll totally let me have my moment.
Look, great women need amazing men. Great women need amazing men.
When he dies, he's gonna die in sainthood. Because of the shit.
You hear that, Mr. Paula? They call her husband Mr. Paula.
Yes, Mr. Paula. But in all respect, I am Mrs. Moreno Fuentes, but that's my Mr. I have to.
Yeah, but he doesn't. And it doesn't seem like he doesn't have an ego trip about it.
No, he doesn't. He's really, and that's funny because even right before we got married, people were like, oh, you're hyphenating your name? Yes, bitch. The fuck? I worked real hard for my degrees, and he's helping me with the ones. But
you see what's on the degrees. You see the name.
There's a lot of sacrifice that goes in for a woman. Our body changes, our name changes. 9 times out of 10, we're the one who runs the household, which goes back to your previous thought of ask. Women, you need to let your men be responsible. Your partners, not just your men, your partners in the household. Just lay it out. Listen, this week I need this, because I think communication is key. Yes. Right? I can't tell you how many patients
they try to fight at work and fight at home, man.
That's tired.
You already gotta deal with all the crazies. You gotta deal with all those loonies bringing all your issues.
Home should be your sanctuary.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And if you're blessed to do it on your own, man, more power to you. But if you do have a support system, include them. We have to be more vocal about the things that we need.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna put Paula's Instagram on the description.
Yes.
So you want to probably video IG her at. Don't do that. Don't do it.
I usually don't answer anyway. So knock yourself out. I won't answer.
I listened to Vibe with Steph, and she said I can video chat you on Instagram.
9 times out of 10, I look like a homeless person.
Oh my gosh, you're so cute. And we're like freaking neighbors. I passed this place so many times. It's so fun. I'm like, I was having a crisis. I couldn't knock on your door. No, I'm not gonna do that. I feel like so, and I have friends that be like, my friends are on my therapist, and they feel like I'm gonna give them free therapy. I'm like, no, man, you could freaking refer them somewhere.
Well, I don't, but I also, because of what I do for a living.
People have to respect that, though.
What I do for a living, I don't like to turn people away. And if I can help you, I will. And if I need to stabilize you and then refer you out, I do. Because I understand the magnitude of what it is that I do. Right. I will never turn anybody away. However, I do have boundaries. You will not be texting me. And if you do text me, I may not answer because that's my right.
My phone is already on Do Not Disturb. Do not bother me.
That's me.
And you know what? I was on this podcast, and we recorded late because I had a whole crisis I had to deal with. I'm better now, guys. I'm better now.
See,
I can't even talk about it. Shit. This is not the place or the time.
You will. Maybe
eventually. Soon. But thank you so much, Paula. I appreciate you
for having me and thinking of me.
Yeah, man, I'm so happy.
That's finally happened. And to all of my women out there, it's not only this month. It's all the months. It's all the days.
We're women all day, every day.
Every little thing, then you celebrate that and take it easy, one step at a time. Find your circle and stick with your circle.
Yeah. Oh, and a fun fact at the end. Paula's going to be having a podcast soon.
Yes, I have it. There's so many things. I'm blessed. I'm coming down the pike, guys. You'll hear about me, I promise. Yeah, so when that happens, I will definitely be putting that out there. But I'm going to put her IG out there and follow us. And thank you so much for listening, guys. Thank you, guys. Happy Women's History Month. Yes. Bye.